Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, welcome back to today's Daf. Bava Kama Tzadi Zayin, we are holding right on top of the Amud and continuing yesterday's discussion. According to Rav, an Eved Kanani that one owns is considered like Karka, which means it's like part of his estate. It's like an asset, like real estate, from which you cannot, separate its owner. It always identifies with its owner, irrespective of where the Eved is today. Says the Gemara, really? Umi Omar Rav. Does Rav really hold that an Eved that you own, Kime Karki Dami, is treated like your real estate, like Karka? V'Amar Rav Daniel Barav Ketina. We have a quote, Amar Rav in the name of Rav. Person grabs the other fellow's Eved and puts him to work. Pater. He doesn't have to pay for it. That's the halacha. In the name of Rav. Now, so if, in fact, an Eved is considered like any other object that one owns, so then we understand why the fellow doesn't have to pay the owner for using the Eved, because he basically stole the Eved. He did a masa, an act of gezela. He took it, into his possession, and he used it. And now he just gives him back the Eved. That's the halacha. You never pay a fee for using the other person's item. And you give it back the way it is. As long as the item is still here, intact, you give it back, without additional fees. So if an Eved is like any other item, any other object, we understand why there's no payment in this case. But if in fact an Eved is equated to karka, to real estate, which never leaves its real owner's hold, possession, jurisdiction, so when you move into the other person's karka, or in this case you stole the Eved and used it, you've basically rented. It's still by the owner. You've used his possession, his item, his land. You've rented his property. Right? As Tosfos explains, karka is not nigzal. You can't technically, steal it. So when you use it, it's as though you used it in the other person's possession, and you have to pay for that, to pay rent. Right? You lived in his house. If an Eved is like karka, Amai Potter, why is he not paying for this use? He should pay for the rental. The Eved was always in possession of the owner, in the owner's possession. So you've rented his possession. So why doesn't he pay? Answers the Gemara. Hacha. B'may Askinen was speaking shaloi b'shas malacha. It was an off day. The Eved wasn't working anyways. It was a vacation day. So there's no point, there's no reason to pay. Kiha de shalach le Rabbi Abba, like he sent Lemari Barmar. I want you to ask Rav Huna a question. Hadar b'chatza chaver shlei midaitei. A person moves into his friend's property without permission. Does he pay rent or not? Tzorach lahalos le'sachar. Is he required to pay rent? Or ain't tzorach lahalos le'sachar or not? And he responded, Ein tzorach. Lahalos le'sachar, there's no need to pay rent. Rashi explains it's based on the well-known concept called Zenen. He enjoys v'zel chaser. He's not missing anything. The halacha is in that case, if the place was not meant as a rental, so it's his gain, and it's not, you're not losing anything so therefore he doesn't have to pay. Same here. The Eved wasn't going to work anyways on that day, so using him does not cause any damage, any loss to the owner. You're potter. Asks the Gemara, how could you compare the two stories? The Eved and the apartment that he used. Bishlei mahasa. So we understand regarding the apartment that he moved into, without permission. There's good reason why you don't pay rent, because ultimately you've benefited the property owner by living there. How? Whether it's according to the opinion that explains it as follows. Beisa, a home, misva, when there is somebody residing there, Yosef, the house is looked after, is taken care of. So the owner is happy that you're there, so he gains, he benefits from it. According to the other shita, yukas shar, an uninhabited, abandoned property, gets visited by demons. She'iyah is the name of the shade. Yukas shar destroys the gateway. So bottom line is, it's good that there are people there. So once again, nichalei, he's happy, he's pleased with your presence. So that's why you don't pay rent. But when you use the other fellow's eved, who wants the eved, his slave, to get worn down by unnecessary work? He's not pleased. He is pleased. Amri, the answer is hachanami here as well. The owner's pleased that you're putting his eved to work, so the eved doesn't learn how to be bored and be lazy. So he keeps him going, keeps him on the move. That's good for everybody. So that explains why even if an eved is like karka, you don't pay rent. You don't pay any fee for using the eved. There was a story by Rav Yosef Bar Chama involving the family, the household of Rav Yosef Bar Chama. How would Takif, they had an interesting practice. They would lend people money, and if the loan was defaulted, how would Takif after the inche, they would take possession of the avadim of those individuals, the masak buzuzi, on which they had a monetary claim. You don't pay, grab your eved. And they would put them to work until they got paid back, whatever it was, until their loan was repaid. Amalei Rabba Bray, so Rabba, his son of Rav Yosef Bar Chama, turned to his father, my time of Marachi, why are you conducting yourself in this manner? You're grabbing the eved as a collateral. Amalei, so he says like this. Well, what's the problem? Rebus, I'm sort of earning interest on the deal because I'm now, benefiting from the use of from the eved serving me. Well, it's not much because you know what? I'm feeding the eved. Amalei, so he responded to Amar of Nachman. Rav Nachman tells us, Avda, you should know that a slave, Nahaim, the bread crazy of his stomach, Leishavi, he's not worth. He eats more than he produces. So we're feeding these avadim, so we're not really gaining anything. Amalei, so he said, Eimad Amar of Nachman. True, that Rav Nachman said that, not universally, he was referring to his specific circumstance. His own eved wasn't really very productive. Kigoyin Daru, Avda, his eved, whose name was Daru. The Merakid Beikubi, he would dance in the bars, so he doesn't really produce much. Kulu Avdi, me Avd Avdi, but the other slaves work very hard. So of course you benefit by you putting them to work. What right do you have to do that? It's ribis. Amalei, he responded, well, I, Rav Daniel, severely, I hold like Rav Daniel, up on top of the Amid. The Amar of Daniel, Ba Rav Katina, Amar Rav, right? Hatoy kebab de shechaver Rav Asim Amlacha Potter. Right? You grab the Eved, use them, you're Potter. And again, we discussed that it's speaking on an off day where the owner in any case is not using him. And incidentally, here as well, with Rav Yosef Bar Chama's family, they would only do it on off days, as so not to cause the owner any loss. So bottom line is, that justifies our practice. Why don't you pay usage fee? Owner is pleased that you're keeping the eved fresh and working. So that explains why we're doing it as well. Amar Leisi, he responded, Hani Mili, that's all good and true. When you're not owed any money by the slave owner. So then it's just about Chesed Mishpat, monetary claims, and you're exempt because of how he explained it. But in this case, it's different. Perception, appearance, it doesn't look good. It looks like you're accepting interest payments on account of your loan. You're in a different position. Mar, you, kiva the masak buzuz, since they owe you money, merci kiribis, it appears like ribis. So you should stop doing that. The Amar of Yosef Bar Yumi, Amar of Nachman, tells us a similar halacha regarding the use of property. Although we all know, we just said it a minute ago, You move into the other fellow's apartment without permission, you don't have to pay rent. That's typically. But in a halava situation, but if you lent him money and then you moved into his property, you should pay rent, because otherwise it appears like you're accepting ribis. Amrli had Rabbi Yosef responded, you're right, I'm cutting the practice. Itmar. Okay, let's move on to a new case. He grabbed his friend's boat or his car and he used it. What does he pay? A rental fee? Or for wear and tear? Sometimes, one can be more than the other. Which one does he pay? We have a machlekes. Amar Rab. Rab says the owner has the option of collecting either amount. Ratza, if he wishes to collect schara, the rental, noitel, he can take that. Ratza pachsa noitel, or the wear and tear, whichever one he chooses. Ushmol Amar no, eina noitel ela pchasa. He only has the right to collect wear and tear, not rental. Amar Papa Blei Pligi. There really is no machlekes. They reflect different situations. Ha David Igra. Rav is speaking with a boat, with a car, is a rental car. So when he took this car and used it, the assumption is that he meant to rent it. And that's what he pays. Ha David Agra. Shmuel is speaking where it's not a rental car. So you took it, you're a ganav. Well, a ganav doesn't pay rent. He pays back the item as is. And if there's any depreciation, any wear and tear, he has to pay according to what it was, at the time when he took it. So that's Shmuel's approach. Pchasa, wear and tear. But according to Rav, we can charge him either for rental or if the wear and tear is greater than the rental, explains Rashi, he has the option to collect that as well, because he didn't ask me, he took it against my will, he just grabbed it. So I have a right to treat him as a gazlan who's responsible for any loss of value. Another approach can be both Rav and Shmuel are speaking where the item is meant for rent. Rav who says you pay rent, that's speaking with the fellow intended on renting it. He went in to use it as a rental. But Shmuel is speaking to the Nachas law, his mindset was robbing, theft, in which case we treat him as such. Mishnah says, a fellow stole a coin and then it got damaged, got split, it's useless. He has to return a proper coin. But if he stole a coin and then it went out of circulation, the government canceled this, currency, he can just give him back that same coin because the damage is not really visible, it's not discernible. Nothing changed physically on the coin, you just give it back. Now, to what extent was this currency disabled? Amar Rav Huna, nistak mamash. The word nistak means actually physically split, so the item is visibly damaged. You can't return it. Nifsal means paslas malchus. The authority had canceled this currency. And Rashi explains. So the ruble is no longer legal tender here in Russia, there in America, you can never use it. And still, since the item is still intact, you can just give it back to the former owner, and by doing so, you have fulfilled your obligation of returning this stolen item. That's Rav Huna's chiddush, even though it's really dysfunctionally, it's not useful, right? You can't use this coin, doesn't matter. Rav Yehuda Amar no, he disagrees. It's going a bit too far. Paslasei malchus nami hainu nistak. This case as well, meaning if the authorities have disqualified this currency and it's useless here or anywhere else, that's also considered like nistak, as though the coin was chopped into two. It's useless. It cannot be used as legal tender. You can't just return it to its owner, you have to pay him value. What then does the Mishnah mean? That if it's nifsal, if it's disqualified, you can still return it. Shepaslasa medina zu v'yaitza v'dina cheres. Local, residents no longer accept rubles. But you can still use it in Russia. So technically, it has value. So you can be mekayim the mitzvah hashava sagzela, give it back to the owner. So bottom line, if the currency was totally cancelled, according to Rav Huna, you can still give it back. According to Rav Yehuda, you cannot. Amar Rav Chizda Rav Huna. Here comes the kasha on Rav Huna who says you could. L'didach amris nivsal means paslase malchus. The government has cancelled this currency totally, and you can still give it back. Hare peiros v'rakiva. What about the Mishnah speaking about fruit that got spoiled? Yain v'hechmetz, wine that soured. Tichi paslase malchus dami. It's useless now, right? It's like a coin which was, cancelled, no longer legal tender. The Mishnah says you can't just give back the spoiled wine. You got to pay based on former value. So why by the coin can he just return it as is, despite the fact that it's worthless? Amar Leis, Rav Huna responds, because here there's no visible, physical, tangible, discernible change. When it comes to the produce, you see different flavor, different smell, totally different entity. You can't just return it as is. But by the coin, same coin, there's no visible change, so we have a right to just give it back. Now comes the kasha of Rabbi Yehuda. According to you, this coin was disqualified, out of circulation completely. It's tantamount to the coin being split. You can't just give it back to its owner. Hare truma v'nitmis. What about the truma which became pasul, which is a similar thing? Tichi paslase malchus dami. Hashem, right? The Torah made it unfit for use, unfit for consumption. And what does the Mishnah say? Give it back. Ukatani, I'm here. Take it back. Hare shechalaf anach. Here's the truma that I stole. Why would the coin be any different? Amalei, he says like this. Big difference. Hasam le minkar hizeka. No laboratory in the world would discern any difference in the truma, which became tamei. It's a spiritual deficiency. It's not something discernible with physical, utensils. Therefore, you can just, view it as the original item and give it back. Coins, which were taken out of circulation, they're discernible. They're discernibly different. Look, the other coins around are different than these. It's clearly a totally different entity. And therefore, we see it as something useless, which you cannot just return. Itmar, here comes a new discussion. Hamavas chaver al matbeya. A person sold merchandise on credit. 100, loonies in Canada. Dollar coin is called a loonie. Okay, so I'm expecting $100 coins for this merchandise. So it happens one bright day, the government decided these loonies are worthless. We're using new coins today. Rav Amar Noisen, loy matbeya hayoyte boytze shah. So the customer has to pay him legal tender, the new coins. You can't get away with the old coins, they're worthless. They have no buying power. Ushmol Amar no, yochalayim eloy, leich hoitzia b'meishan. You can give them the loonies. Go spend it in China. Over there, they still accept it. Amar Rav Nachman, Mistaver Milsa Shmuel. It's probable that Shmuel's chiddush is only in a case to Islay Urchalim Ezel Meishan. This fellow plans on traveling to Meishan, has a wedding next week in Meishan. So to him, this coin still has value when he gets to Meishan, so it can be used. Aval Leslay Urcha, but he doesn't plan on traveling, then the other fellow can pay him these coins. Eis Rav Nachman. So Rabbi asks a kasha to Rav Nachman, who has this stipulation only because of his travel plans, really? Otherwise, we don't deem it as something of value. We have a brayse, ein machalin al hamois. So we have maser sheni, produce, and we want to transfer the kedusha on money. You cannot do so on money which is out of circulation, which is not, used for local commerce. She'enam yotzes ketzat, for instance. According to the first pshat in Rashi, These coins were minted in the time of the king Bar Kaiziva. They were called Kaizviyas Yerushalmiyas. But today they're no longer in circulation. Or another example, or coins minted by the earlier kings. These things are not legal tender today. Ein machalin, they cannot be used for Maser Sheni. But now let's make a diuk. Let's infer. But if it's a recently minted coin from the recent kings, but for some reason it's out of circulation, it's not treated like legal tender today, it can be used for Chilul Maser Sheni. So what's the kasha? Because according to you, Rav Nachman, it's only because he has travel plans to that area where they accept it. But here it doesn't work, because the only place to spend this Maser Sheni money is where? In Yerushalayim. And over there they don't accept it as legal tender. So apparently this potential travel situation is not a required element. So he responded, the Braita which allows this use is speaking the governments are not really particular, not strict about using the other country's coins locally, which basically means like this. True, this coin is not really in circulation at this location, but the government is not too careful about it. They let you hold on to it and deal with it. So when you'll find a tourist from China visiting, you can give him the yen. You could sell it to him. So bottom line is, even if the concept of that potential travel, the potential trip doesn't apply in this case, because as we explained, here you would be required to have it spent in Yerushalayim, and there they don't accept yens, but nevertheless you can sell it to a local tourist coming from China. Asks the Gemara, hold it. Eloki Amar Shmuel. So when Shmuel says, and the way we explained Shmuel was that unused currency can still be considered something of value, is because you intend on traveling to that place where they use it. So when do we have that requirement? When is that precondition? In fact, a precondition. We're speaking a case where the governments are very particular, very strict about possessing these foreign coins. So the only reason why we consider it something of value is because you intend on traveling to another place, and you'll use it there. Hold it. But if the authorities don't allow you to possess these coins, how are you ever going to get it past the border? They'll examine your luggage and they'll put you through a body scan. You'll never be able to get it out. So in any case, it has no value. You get it out. You'll work your way through the border. You'll get it out. It's not smooth, but ultimately we know that they're not so meticulous. They're not going to put you through a scan. They're not that strict. On the one hand, they're not so strict, but true, if they discover that you're in possession of this money, they confiscate it. So at this point, we know like this: using coins which are not, considered legal tender locally, according to Shmuel, can be considered something of value in one of two cases. Either when the authorities are not too caring about, people possession of these coins and dealing them with tourists coming from that other place, or even if the authorities are strict, but you can get it past the border and you intend on traveling to that other place. Tashmai comes another kasha. We have a halacha again regarding Maser Sheni. Ein mechalelin al moez shel kan vein bebavel. So one cannot convert the Maser Sheni onto moez shel kan, local money, Yerushalayim, currency, vein bebavel, in a case where the owner and the coins are sitting in Bavel. Why? Because since they cannot be spent over there where the owner is, it doesn't work. Rashi says, "B'tzarta hakesef b'yadecha," it has to be money they can spend, locally. It's a din of Maser Sheni, so it doesn't work. Another example where it doesn't work: V'shel bava v'hin kan. You heard in Yerushalayim, you want to do chilul on Babylonian coins, Babylonian currency, which is here and the owner is here, you can't do that. Why? Because once again, you can't spend this money in Yerushalayim. It's not legal tender in Yerushalayim. But in the third case, it works. Shel Bavel v'hein beBavel mechalalim. You have Babylonian currency in Bavel with the owner in Bavel. Perfect. Chilul works. Why? The Gemara soon will explain. At any rate, the Brisa says, Ein mechalalin al mois shel kan v'hein beBavel. You cannot do chilul on local Yerushalayim currency when the owner and the money is sitting in Bavel. Why not? Because in Bavel it has no worth? Who cares? You know for sure the owner is going to end up in Yerushalayim with the money. So he has travel plans. So since at his destination this is considered legal tender, according to Shmuel and Rav Nachman's explanation, it should be considered something of value. And so the Gemara, my skinner was speaking, the governments, Bavel, Yerushalayim, there's tension, they don't allow cross-border, money transfer. In which case, you'll never get that money over to Yerushalayim, so it's not practical for it to be considered Chilul Maser Shem. If that's the case, what about the third case? You have Bavel currency, you're in Bavel, you can do Chilul over here. What do you mean? You have to inevitably bring it to Yerushalayim. You can't get past the border. Well, you can still use it. Chazu, it's still useful. You know how? The Zavin, Bubahema. All you do is buy an animal in Bavel with this money, right? It's legal tender over here. But Masik, Yerushalayim, and bring the animal itself to Yerushalayim. So that's why you can do it. Vatanya, here comes another kasha. We make all these distinctions between currencies. What's the problem? Hiskidu. Don't we know the Chacham instituted a special practice? Yerushalayim is internationally, all currency is legal tender in Yerushalayim. Hiskinu, Shiu Amois, Yoitzai, Yerushalayim Pnei Kach. In order to facilitate the proper functioning of the Machzas HaShekel system, where money comes from everywhere, all currencies are legal in Yerushalayim. Pnei Kach, because of this. Tosfos explains because of the Machzas HaShekel system. So why can't you use Bavel money in Yerushalayim? Amar Rav Zera, it depends at what point in history. Like kasha, answer is, when we say all currencies are legal, Bizman sheyad Yisrael tekifa al umas oilam, when the Yisrael, the Jewish government is in charge. They rule over the Goyim, they're in charge, they set the rules, all currencies are legal. But the other halacha which differentiates doesn't allow foreign currencies in Yerushalayim. Bizman sheyad umas oilam tekifa al atzma, when the Goyim are ruling over themselves. It's just an expression, meaning they're in charge and they don't abide by this rule. Tana Rabbanan, speaking about Yerushalayim currency, what did it look like? Ezu Matbei Yerushalayim. What was the Yerushalayim coin all about? It was inscribed as follows. Tosfos explains it didn't have actual, forms, human forms, because one's not allowed to engrave in human form. So it had, had it in writing. It was inscribed David v'Shloimeh mitzad echad. One side of the coin had the words David v'Shloimeh, Yerushalayim Yirakodesh mitzad acher, and the word Yerushalayim Yirakodesh on the other side. Ve'ezim matbei shel Avram Avinu. And what about the coins at the time of Avram Avinu? What did it have? Zaken u'skena. It said old man, old woman on one side, mitzad echad, b'chor b'sulam, and young man and woman mitzad acher on the other side. Maharsha explains this was meant to commemorate this tremendous nace with Avram Avinu, who were very old. Avram and Sarah, very old, in their old age, reverted back to youth in anticipation of Yitzchak's arrival. I have a question. So once again, he sold him something on credit, expecting a set amount of coins as payment. And then they enlarged the size of those very coins. Can he get paid the same amount of coins despite the fact that they're bigger or not? He gives them the local coins. You mean even if they're increased in size, like a size of a sifter? He says, yeah, coin is a coin. You mean even if it's size of a quarter of a kav container, very big? He says, yeah. But how can you do that? It's ribis. Fact is that you can buy many more bananas with these coins than the old coins. So it's ribbis. I'm accepting more than I get. Amar of Ashi. The answer is like this. Chazina, we take a close look. Why are you buying more bananas? Imachmas tivazil. Is it because of the increased size of the coin? Then you have to deduct that amount. Imachmas tarazil. But if it's because of supply and demand factors, there's abundance of bananas today, then a deduction need not be made. Asks the Gemara, what do you mean? Ultimately, there's more precious metal in these coins. It's bigger. Nascha is a block of silver, right? So ultimately, there's more metal in here. How can he accept more than he deserves? Ella says, the Gemara, you're right. A certain leeway he gets, because typically, coins aren't perfect. There's a 20% sort of leeway in discrepancy. But if it's more than that, you have to account for it and deduct. Ella, rather the correct approach is Ki Hadar Papa, Rafun Rabbi Yeshua, Avdi Uda. They had a similar situation, and they concluded like this: Bezuzi Da'ag Radmis. Agradmis, as Rashi is an Arab, coin dealer. So they went to him, Taya, an Arab coin dealer, and they compared the old coins, which were smaller, to the new ones, which were bigger. Ad Yad V'Timnaya. 10 verses 8. Tosfos explains, according to one shot, that in a situation where 8 of the new, larger coins equal, let's say, 12 of the old ones, or 11, or maybe even 10, then you can't just give him 8 of the new coins, because you're giving him way more than he deserves. But less than that, if it's just a small, like a 20% discrepancy, it's 8 to 9 or 8 to almost 10. So that's reasonable enough to be considered sort of, the same entity. And as we explained, typically coins, fluctuate. There isn't, an exact science here. So that's not considered a visible, pronounced discrepancy. And you can accept the 8 new coins despite the fact that in terms of, size and the weight of the metal within, there is more than really you deserve. Okay, we spoke about an eved being like karka. We spoke about zenena v'zalei chasar. You don't pay rent for using the eved or using the apartment. We spoke about using the sfina, when you pay rent, when you pay wear and tear. We spoke about the machlekas, what's considered a useless, currency. Is it a localized issue, or even in a case where it can't be used internationally? Is that too considered just, superficial disqualification, in which case it's still considered the same entity, machlekes between Rav Huna and Rav Yehuda. We spoke about a currency which has been, pumped out of circulation, whether it can still be used, according to Shmuel, as long as there's potential benefit, potential value in that distant land which he plans on traveling to. Now, if you can use it locally by selling it to the tourist, that certainly works, and on the other hand, if you can't get it across the border, it certainly has no value. We discussed similar concepts regarding Chilul Maser Sheni. We described the coin in time of, Yerushalayim's heyday, David and Shlomo, Abraham and Sarah. Concluded the halacha of the newly minted coins, how to deal with the, comparison in value with the old coins. All the best to you, and Atzlacha Rabbah.